Every single one of us is running stories beneath the surface. Stories that whisper in the quiet, that dictate how much love we receive, how much money we allow, how visible we let ourselves become. Some of these stories are ancient guardians, serving us, protecting us, and elevating us. And some of them are prisons, repeating the same heartbreak, the same scarcity stories, and the same resistance on a loop. And the subconscious doesn't judge. It doesn't say, this story is good, this story is bad. It simply plays the record that was handed to it by childhood, by ancestors, by culture, by repetition. And unless we bring these stories to light, that same record will keep spinning, no matter how badly we want a different song. This episode is about the subconscious stories, why they matter, how they shape our destiny, and how when we choose to rewrite them, we don't just change our lives, we alter timelines. So let's begin at the root. Where do these stories even come from? Neuroscience shows us that between the ages 0 and 7, our brains are mostly in the theta brainwave state. These states are hypnotic and impressionable. That means that everything our parents said and everything we felt, everything we witnessed in those years was directly written into the subconscious mind like holy scripture. And if you've ever wondered why you keep repeating the same relationship dynamics, why money feels like it slips through your fingers, or why opportunities scare you as much as they excite you, it's often because you're living inside those original chapters that you didn't even write. In esoteric traditions, they call these samskaras, which are soul grooves. These are patterns etched into us that are lifetimes deep, until we're ready to alchemize them. And that's what this episode is going to help you do. Recognize these grooves, understand these loops, and learn how to step into the role of the author instead of the echo. So let's get into the loop of familiarity, because your subconscious is loyal, it's not logical. It repeats what's familiar even if it hurts. Your brain's basal ganglia runs habits like code. To the nervous system, pain that's predictable feels safer than joy that's unknown. This is why so many people unconsciously are drawn to recreating chaos, because it feels like safety. And spiritually, this could be looked at as karma, which is simply repetition until awareness interrupts the cycle. And quantum physics agrees that when you give your attention to the same storyline, you collapse the same probabilities. And quantum physics refers to how infinite probabilities exist until consciousness observes one. And then that wave collapses into a particle. And then that timeline becomes real because it was observed or given lots of attention to. The loop continues until you choose something else to focus on. Because every thought is an incantation and every belief is a ritual. When you say, I'm unlucky in love, money never works for me, nobody sees me, you're not stating facts, you're casting spells and choosing timelines. Ancient magic knew this. Words are wands. The subconscious listens like a scribe, writing every repeated phrase into reality. So the question isn't, are you magical, but rather, what kind of magic are you reinforcing on the daily? Because we're always manifesting, whether it's conscious or not. So you might as well make it conscious. Now, the stories that you hold on to are also held in the body because the body keeps the score, our bodies never lie, and they store the memory of every story we've ever believed, especially the stories from our ancestors and from the mother's womb. So look into your mother's patterns as well to see what you've inherited. Now, trauma gets lodged in the nervous system as somatic patterns. This is when the body contracts at opportunities that remind us of past rejections. It will shut down when it senses danger, even if there isn't any sign of real danger. Esoterically, the body is the oracle. Your aches, your resistance, your fatigue. These are patterns that the subconscious is speaking to you through the flesh. This is why affirmations alone don't work. Because if your mind says, I'm abundant, but your body still holds the script of scarcity, the old story wins every time. So an example would be if you say, I'm beautiful, and then your stomach knots, or your breath gets shallow. That's your nervous system signaling, I don't believe this yet. So you want to watch for physical micro reactions after affirming big goals. Like if you have tension, or you're clenching, or you're holding your breath. So to heal these patterns, you have to release through the body and through the nervous system. Doing things like somatic shaking or dancing in front of the mirror while stating these affirmations. And then letting your body shake out the resistance. Or doing EFT tapping or breath work. I know for me, a huge way that I release is stretching. I mean, I get into the deep fascia and I kind of visualize like what my muscles look like releasing all of that tension. It's very magical. Who you believe you are is the deepest story of them all. Quantum physics teaches us that consciousness collapses possibility into matter. If your identity is the struggler, or the one who always works harder, or the one who gets left behind, you will always find evidence that proves this belief right, because the quantum field is organizing itself around you to match these beliefs. Because again, you're the author of your reality, and the universe is working in harmony with you. As above, so below, as within, so without, identity is the seed of reality. Or like Joe Dispenza says, your personality creates your personal reality. So if you don't like what's being reflected back to you, change who you are. That looks like changing how you view yourself, your beliefs, your habits, how you think, feel, speak, look, act. Your reactions, you want to respond rather than react. Some people are suffering permanent consequences because a temporary emotion guided their reaction. So shift the I am and you shift the entire quantum field. Whenever you change a story, resistance will appear. Resistance is like a gatekeeper. The shadow side of us kind of guards the threshold. Neuroscience actually explains this too. Your prediction error networks fire up when something new threatens the familiar, which puts the subconscious mind on the offense to fight for the old record. And if resistance keeps showing up, it's proof that you're close to rewriting the script. Louise Hay has this book called Heal Your Body: The Mental Causes of Physical Illness. I came across this book while I was doing really deep subconscious reprogramming work, and then I ended up getting a root canal. And her book literally says the cause of root canals is uprooting old limiting beliefs. Anyways, you have to check that book out. I was mind blown. Your relationships are also the clearest mirror of your subconscious stories. We don't always attract what we desire. We attract who we are and what we believe that we're worthy of. So the subconscious projects itself onto the stage of intimacy, business, and partnerships in general. Neuroscience calls this mirror neurons. Esotericism calls it karmic contracts. Either way, the people in your life are reading your story back to you. Every trigger, every heartbreak, every partnership is feedback from the script and story you're writing. I'll give you an example. When you're in a position in your life when you're consistently attracting narcissists, their core energy is, I'm focused on me at the expense of you. Or I'm not actually even thinking about you, I'm just focused on me. And the polarity of this energy would be an empath. Someone who's like, I'm not even thinking about myself, I'm fully thinking about you and your needs. That's why these toxic dynamics exist between narcissist and empath. The empath has no boundaries, people pleases, and gives way too much as a form of manipulation and control and seeking self-love, worth, validation, etc. And then the narcissist is just gaining fuel, loving the validation, loving the attention, loving the resources. Usually creates this avoidance dynamic so that the other person will be left chasing. And so it's just like this ping pong of toxic energy. The empath needs to learn boundaries, self-love, and self-validation. The narcissist needs to learn empathy, cooperation, and surrender so they're not in this possessive, controlling energy. And so every story in your life will show you the program that you're running. Recently, I've found myself really needing to advocate for myself and assert my boundaries over and over again because people would just be crossing them and would just be disrespecting me. And I'm like, okay, what's the story here? What do I need to learn about what the fuck is going on? And so what I found is this is the story in continuously believing in someone's potential versus who they are in this moment. And so now that I've really understood this story, I don't need to feed into the dynamic of, oh, but you could do this, or continuously explaining myself 400 different ways just so that they could potentially understand. No, they're not in a state of mind or consciousness to understand the first, second, or third time, so respectfully, I will disengage. I will remove myself and my energy and take the hint much sooner. So that feedback is necessary to see our own blind spots, especially in the way that other people treat us or how we allow them to. And this is not just personal work. Like I said, it's ancestral. We have collective subconscious stories. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious. Archetypes like the victim, the hero, the outcast, they all live within us. And not only that, but like patriarchal stories as well, infused into media, into the movies, the TV shows, children's songs. I was at this child play date thing with my daughter and we were all singing nursery rhymes. And in one of the songs it goes, the daddies in the bus say, I love you. The mommies in the bus say, shh, shh, shh. Like, what is that? The dads are known as the fun, playful ones, and the mothers are known as like the strict, disciplinary ones. Subconscious stories are truly everywhere. And we have to be so aware of them so we can break these patterns. Epigenetics also proves that trauma is inherited. So stories like scarcity, fear, or silence can pass through the DNA until someone in the bloodline chooses to rewrite them. Spiritually, this is ancestral healing. To change your subconscious story is to change your entire lineage. I know that in my journey, when I broke the subconscious curse, if you will, of schizophrenia, which I later in my journey just found out that it was auric tears and demonic attachments. And this was the result of having weak energetic boundaries with other people and also doing drugs, which causes auric tears. I remember when I finally realized what was happening to me and I started working on my energy. I started creating a very strong energetic presence and energetic field around me. I was no longer being demonically attacked, and I had this visualization once before bed of fireworks going off in my mind, but it didn't feel like my own thoughts. It actually felt like a celebration from the heavens and from my bloodline. Because my father, who left before I was 1 year old, he actually suffered from multiple personality disorder. And spiritually, just from what I have discovered in my journey, I believe that this is demonic possession and also demonic attachment. And in this lifetime, he probably didn't have the tools to heal this. But what happened to him was trying to happen to me. And because I am such a seeker and I have such a curious personality, instead of just letting life happen and then suffering with the consequences, I would always ask, why? Why is this happening? What does this mean? What's going on? Even when voices were coming to me, even when I felt negative energy all around me, I refused to make these scenarios mean anything about me. That I was a victim of my circumstances, that I was some sort of terrible person, or to be ashamed of what was happening to me. No. It was, this is what's happening to me. Why? Let me get the data. Let me pivot or shift. And so being the spiritual researcher on your journey will help you break all of these patterns. So to break free, Hermeticism says, all is mind. There are universal laws in this reality that will help you break free from the matrix. Go watch my video entitled The Universe Has a Type. What we can hold in our minds, we can hold in our hands, because thought reshapes reality. Which means if it's not something you can imagine, you're currently not at the capacity to be able to create that. So know that your imagination is also showing you your capacity to create. Neuroscience also shows us neuroplasticity. The brain can rewire itself through repetition, presence, and emotional intensity. And remember what quantum physics says, choice collapses probability. Everything you put attention to crystallizes into form. It becomes a wave, it becomes a particle. So every negative thought you put attention to, it's becoming real. Every positive thought you're putting attention to also becomes real. And you're a co-creator with the universe. So every time you set an intention and then shift into the feeling of doubt, the universe hears you. The universe is like, oh, we're doubting that? Okay, well, I'm not sure if you really want it then. You're giving me mixed signals. Every time you set an intention and then you have coherence between your mind, your heart, and your body, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, your actions, your habits, and you go and take that action, the universe blesses and supports it, sees that your frequency is still elevated and still able to hold everything you're calling in, and then boom, you receive. Because receiving the physical manifestation is the last step in the manifestation process. The 3D reality, there's a lag time. Whereas the 5D is instant, because the 5D is imagination. You can instantly imagine something and it's in your mind right away. So trust yourself when you set intentions and continue to take those actions. That's how you break the loop with conscious choice. When you choose to speak instead of stay silent. When you invest in yourself and in showing up differently instead of shrinking and being like the old self. When you choose to trust instead of default back into fear. You create a new field of possibility. The loop is broken the moment you decide to author a new story, to be a new version of yourself. And finally, let's reframe the subconscious itself. It's not your enemy. It's not here to sabotage you. The subconscious is sacred technology. It's a temple of memory. It records everything, yes, but it also responds instantly to a new command. When you treat it like a sacred ally, you stop fighting it and you start programming it. Through ritual, repetition, and conscious attention. And then your subconscious stops looping the old story and it starts broadcasting your chosen frequency. So I'll leave you with this. The subconscious doesn't care if your story is sacred or if it's self-sabotaging. It will run whatever you give it. The real power is remembering you are the author. You are the one holding the pen. So rewrite the story and you rewrite the world. The next time you have an experience in your reality, good or bad, ask yourself, what does this mean about the narrative that is playing in my mind right now? And do I want to shift it, or is it perfect just the way it is? If you want to work with me one-on-one or in my membership, subconscious reprogramming is a huge part of my work, especially through audio tracks, and I have over 30 of them. So it is a goldmine when you join the membership. I will see you all in the next one.